All right, so we are doing Collabspace Training today. It's been let's just make sure. Okay, that's correct. I'm just coming off of COVID, so I've always got that brain fog fear of maybe I'm doing the wrong webinar or something like that. So like all webinars, we'll spend most of this webinar in Collabspaces, but I just want to go over anything new in NetDocs, anything new, any new blog posts, and any new events. And then we will jump into the webinar. So there is something new. So everyone knows the drill here, but it's always good as a team to look at this. So we'll Google NetDocs updates. Um, and we can see what's new here. So ND Click update. ND Click for Mac. I didn't even know about that. So 2.1 that came out. Let's just see what that does. This is for Mac users. All right, so seems like there's just some support there. I wonder why there would be just, yeah, so the ND Click here is for Mac, because really ND Click is really only used for Mac now. And then let's come over to web refreshes. When's our next update? Download all. Okay. That would actually affect Collabspaces. Rename download all link and secured link. Okay, wow. So there we go there. Now, here's the big one, and I'm going to get this by going to NetDocs downloads. Next week, I'm doing a webinar for IT people on how to install and roll out NetDocs, and this is somewhat timely because this usually happens. 4.2.1. There is a new version of ND Office out. Now, really, 4.2 is the big release. The point one indicates that there was a bug fix, and you can see that at 1.16 for ND Mail. The point one, there was a bug fix here. So again, if you don't have this issue, I don't know if I'd roll it out, but fixed an issue where ND Office was removing attachments from sent emails when certain email providers were being used, okay? And then fixed an issue on machines with Office 2019 or 2021, where the email copy and email sent wasn't going out there. So this is a patch. Again, after 4.2 was released, usually about a month later you get a patch. That's why I always want people to wait a month before they roll out there. What's new at Optimal? We'll look at the events here. So we are doing the Collabspace training today. Next week, this is really for only people that need to know how to update NetDocs, okay? So I'm going to go over, and this is really maybe send this to your IT company, or I'll record the video and they'll have it, but this is just how I would update NetDocs for a law firm. And then September, we're going to take a little break because we've been doing these about once a week. We're going to go over home pages September 10th, workspace organization September 17th, and then we'll hit in office hours. WS workspace security manager training. Then we got some office hours and some health checks. NetDocs tips here. Because I've been getting this question all the time. How do I copy like a matter to a flash drive? So we talk about how to do that here. Um, let's see here. Oh, I did an article on searching. So just I pulled this out of the manual and I wanted to really just put this on the web page and I linked to some other articles we've done on search hacks. So this is just an article on searching in NetDocs. And then we've gotten some questions about how to download the client and matter tables. We created an article there. So that is what is new with Optiable and NetDocs. All right, so let's get into the webinar topic today. All right, so let me just see here. Questions. We're going to talk about and really for this webinar, because I'm seeing stuff in the questions, I'm really only going over Collabspaces. So if it's not Collabspaces, email me or call me or talk to me later. But let's just hit Collabspaces today, and then I'll definitely try to address any other issues in other webinars or just through support tickets or whatever. So Collabspaces, let's start off here. I'm going to jump into NetDocs. I'm going to go to the admin. So you have to be a repository admin to go over here. And we're going to come over to information and settings. All right, this is the first thing I want to hit over is let's see if you have Collabspaces. You might not have the ability to go into this, but someone at your firm can. I would also just say that most firms are getting Collabspaces now. Kind of like ND Mail, when it first came out, it was optional. Now NetDocs is just sending it out to everyone. So if you have a check mark next to Collabspaces, then you have Collabspaces. And if you don't, then you don't have Collabspaces. What do Collabspaces do? We will cover that in the webinar today. While we're also here in information and settings, I'll also just note max external users, this is set to 1,000. So when you get collaboration spaces, they have to put a number here. So everyone has 1,000 users, but from what NetDocs has told me, if you end up using all 1,000 users in your collab space, you can just increase the number count. They're not going to charge you more money for using collab spaces. When we go to set up collab spaces for law firms, there's two things we have to do. So I'm going to come over to users and groups. And this is, if we set up collab spaces for you, we already did this. I'm just pointing this out before we get into it. If we come over to the gear right here, we check this item off. Cabinet administrators can create external groups in the cabinet and add external members to those groups and the repository. That needs to be checked off for collab spaces to work. And then the other thing that we'll do is we'll jump into the cabinet settings themselves. And again, this is something that we always set up for you, but I just think it's good to go over. Collab spaces are set up on a per cabinet basis. Let's see what our options are. So if we come down here to the very, very bottom, there's a collab space area here. Okay. So allow collab spaces to be created in this cabinet. And then if never, you can't create collab spaces. All right. If checked only in workspaces, then you can use collab spaces. Other thing to point out about collaboration spaces or collab spaces has to be used in a workspace based cabinet. So it's always really used in like your client cabinet. But if you have a cabinet set up like called forms and it's all folder based, can't really use collab spaces in there. Now, the other thing I'm going to point out here is who can create collab spaces. The way we usually set up NetDocs is we allow anyone in the client cabinet to create collab spaces. But you don't have to do that. You can create a group of people that have the ability, and this is just creating a group of NetDocs. Only these users can create collab spaces. And then there is a process where if you don't have the ability, you can kind of create it, but then you have to actually ask permission to the group to really create it. Other things that I'll just point out here that we can look at, and we always check this off. Well, external members are allowed to create documents. We want that. External members are allowed to use the email link. So let's see one that we never check off here. External members are allowed to access the history of objects in this cabinet. Never let external users do that. That is the NetDocs audit trail. The history. So if you're looking at any document in NetDocs and you click on more and then go to history, that is everything that has ever happened to that document. Do we really want to let external users see that? So we don't check that option off. We do check off the next option here, which is going to be external users are not subject to restrictions on multi-document downloads. That just means if I go to a collab space, I want the option download everything. And so I can download everything onto my computer. This one is new, okay? And I'm still wrapping my mind around it, but I'll tell you what it does right here and what it is perfect for. Allow sharing documents with external users outside of Collabspaces. Why would you do this? This is the scenario that comes up. Hey, Craig, we have this matter here. We need our accountant or an external user, like maybe a co-counsel or an expert, to have access to the entire matter. This feature didn't exist in 2024. They added it sometime in 2025. So the idea here is instead of using a collab space, you still have to have collab spaces to do this. But if you check this off, you could actually share an entire matter with an external user without having to put everything in the collab space and having to keep adding new documents to the collab space. So this gives you the ability to say, hey, for this matter, just share it with someone. That feature is new, still kind of wrapping my head around best practices. I mean, I've played around with it and I've definitely caused some damage, which sometimes happens, but it seems to work the way it's intended there. All right, let's jump into NetDocuments. We're going to go into our massive dynamic workspace, and we're going to come over to Collabspaces. Now, unfortunately or fortunately, you've been on this training, this is where we create all the collab spaces here. I would not, so would I check that option, the share external users? I mean, I don't know, I don't think there's a problem. Maybe I would ask tech support before checking it, because that's a question we got. Should you check that off? Um, Again, I'm just I'm basically, I haven't created the training materials yet to show everyone how to do it, but I have it checked off. I haven't seen any issues with it. So I don't think there's a problem if you want to share a matter. And then what you would be doing is creating a group, an external group, assigning that person to the group and assigning the matter there. We'll have a blog post and explain about it shortly. We just don't have that right now, but I mean, it exists. Let me come over to the Q&A. Oh, also here, I'm just going to say, because I get this question every webinar, if you sign up for these webinars, you get an email video the next day. So if you sign up for it, that's how you'll get the video. Another question here. This one is great. And then we're going to go over using them, but this is coming up here. I know this is an anonymous attendee, but I know because you called us about this. And we have the solution here. We found that clients with an email address that ends in group are blocked from the collab spaces. Is there a workaround? So this is a bug with NetDocs, okay? And we verified it's a bug with NetDocs. There is a workaround. So when we go through the training today, I am going to show you how you can add a external user to a collab space. However, a NetDocs admin can come over to users and groups, and you can add, if you come over to add user here, you should, and let's just try it, at group. Oh yeah, is that the ending dot group, or it's not letting us add it here either? Let me look at the ticket. There still might be an issue there. Like a .com works, .net works. Oh wait, it's Craig Bayer at me.group, or maybe that works. Maybe that's how to do it. I'll get back with you on that. I know that is a bug there. So we'll go that. All right. So Craig at net.group. Let's just see this. I don't want to get bogged in the weeds here about this, but I just got the email back from support about this. So if we come over here, Craig at net.group, we can add it here. All right, let me just do this because we're going to use this in our training today. So Craig Group is the name, okay? External users. So you could add external users here. And this is maybe more important. We'll shut off the welcome email. There is a actual bulk upload here as well, where you could bulk upload external users. So that is, I'm glad you actually brought this up because I've never talked about this in other trainings, but say you're creating a collab space with 10 users. There is an Excel sheet that you can fill out and bulk upload them, okay? So let's just go into creating our first collab space. And then I know there's a lot of questions coming up here. I'm going to hit them. So in NetDocs, I'm going to come over to Collabspaces. Now, the other thing I'll point out here, since I have Collabspaces, I set up my workspace template to always show Collabspaces in every matter. That is what we recommend. If your firm hasn't done that, like you have Collabspaces, but you only see it on certain matters, you would need to come over to the workspace and then under customize workspace, you would be able to check a box to add the collab space. So if you're not seeing the collab space, the option one is we can just turn it on for every matter in the workspace template, or going to customize workspace, you can turn it on ad hoc. Let's create a collab space. And as you can see here, you can have multiple collab spaces. So add collab space. And what I like to do is name these the exact same as the matter. But because we've created so many, I'll just do this. I'll do massive, dynamic, and then I'm just going to do optimal webinar. All right. So you're naming your collab space. Once you have named the collab space, you're going to come over to the bottom right-hand corner and you're going to hit OK. And then you will immediately hit OK again. Now, the next part here is to create the collab space group. Now, I want to point this out here because this happens a lot, and this is where a lot of my support calls are from clients. You want to create a collab space. You don't want to share it with anyone yet. You want to add documents. Maybe it's going to take you the whole week to create it. That's fine. Still create the group. When we create the group, we don't have to add users to it yet. But realistically, the proper way to do this without you coming back and having issues is to always create the group here. So we're going to click on Create Collab Space Group. And then at this point, we give the group a name. I give it the exact same name as the collab space. So the security group is the same as the collab space. If you don't want to add anyone to it yet, at this point, you would just hit create group. We're going to add people to it. So for example, if we come over here to search for users, all right, there's the group, the one that we just created. So this was the workaround to get someone that has that .group email address to get them in there. You had to add them to the admin portal first, and then we could come in here. Let's go and click on create new user. Again, we can search through all our users, and you can see here that I got a ton of collab spaces. So there's a lot of people for me to search through here, but it works out fine. But we're going to create a brand new user by clicking on create new user. At this point, we're just going to give them a name. So we'll do this, Craig Bayer, and then we're going to type in their email address. Now you could put in where they work for, and you could put in a phone number. I am going to check send welcome email so we can see what that looks like. And then I'll hit create user. Now, again, the point I would make here is that you didn't have to create the user, but you should always create the group. Now, this collab space, we're going to create another one, but this collab space here, it's only to view documents. So let's click create group, and then I'm going to hit apply. All right. We have created our collab space massive dynamic optimal webinar. All right. We haven't added anything to it, but we have created a collab space. Now I'm hearing something about a 404 error that you're getting. So a couple things that I've noticed about that error. If I turn on the settings, and we went over that in the very beginning of this webinar, if I turn on all the settings and I don't log out of NetDocs and log back in, I do get an error. So if you went and followed my steps about setting all the settings correctly, you might have to, and that's a security thing with NetDocs, log out of the session, log back in, and that applies to security to everywhere. So I've seen that happen before. So we have created a collab space. Now let's use our imagination. Let us leave our work computer. Let's see what we're seeing from the client side of things. So let me come over here. Okay. Wow. I was like, uh-oh, am I not going to get the email? So that was a little bit delayed here, but here is the email that your client would get. Welcome to, and then law firm name. Okay. You have been added to law firm name, and then it's coming over here. It's giving you the email address. And now there's an activate because I have a logo in my NetDocs. We see the logo here. So now your client is going to click on activate, and then they are going to have to create a NetDocs password. All right. All right. Now they've logged into NetDocs. Collabspace is a favorite here. We haven't added anything yet, so this is all that they can see. Let's pause for a second because I want to go over one other thing. I'm going to come back to our NetDocs. We're going to go to admin. I'm going to come over here to Security Center, and I'm going to click on Advanced Authentication. And then I'm going to come over to MFA, which stands for Multi-Factor Authentication. I want you to know that this exists. This is not something that we turn on a lot, but it does exist. So multi-factor authentication is great, and NetDocs gives you the ability to turn it on. So if I check this box, your external Collabspace users, before they can log into NetDocs, will have to have an authentication app, and they will have to be able to plug that in before they can log in. Now, let me tell you, at Optimal, we have this for every single thing. Everyone at Optimal is used to using MFA. Before we can get it into our remote access software, we do anything, we have to use MFA. But what I found is when law firms turn this on, it's a barrier to entry for some of their clients. Okay. It's not using text-based multi-factor authentication. So if any of you go to check your bank account statement, it's probably using text-based where it sends you a text message. NetDocs is not using that. You have to have a multi-factor authentication app on here, like Google Authenticator, Microsoft Authenticator, and you have to use it. So, I mean, would I like to turn this on? Yes. But have I turned it on? No, because I just think for a lot of firms, because it becomes a barrier to entry. All right. So far, all we've done is create a collab space. We have not added anything into it. Our client sees the collab space, but there's nothing in there. So let's come over to this collab space. There's nothing in it. So how do we add items? In our regular NetDocs, here's a list of everything. I am going to check the box next to the Smith-Lindsay NDA. I'm going to come over to the word more, and then we are going to click on share externally. Share externally is now going to give us the option to add something to the collab space. There it is. We're going to leave the word copy selected and hit OK. We have added the Smith-Lindsay NDA to the collab space. There it is. And now let's go back to our firm's NetDocs and let's point something out here. You copied it was me, right? But we copied this to the collab space. What's the ramifications of doing that? We duplicated the document. There are now two. Which is the one that's in the collab space? It's this one. So this one right here is the original. This is the duplicate. All right. Let's do this again. And in fact, I'm going to choose this summary of motion we got judgment on. And let me just do this. More, edit profile. And in here in the comments, let's write Craig sucks. All right. Let's do this. Let's add this document to the collab space. More, share externally. We're going to come over here and we're going to choose this and we're going to switch this one to move and then hit OK. All right, there's now two documents in the collab space. If we go back to NetDocs now, there are not two summary of the motion we got a judgment on. There's only one because we moved it. Move is a bad word. It should say file. When you move a document to a collab space, it stays in NetDocs and exists in the collab space. Only one document. When you copy a document, you duplicate it. All right. Now, these are two separate documents with two separate document IDs. One of the things that I would recommend doing if you're using the copy is select both documents, more, and then we would come over to link documents. So you would always know that, hey, this document came from this document, right? They're linked together. And you see that linkage here in the document details pane, so you know where it came from. Let's leave our NetDocs now, and let's go to our client's NetDocs, the external party that we shared this with. Oops. There it is. All right. Let me hit refresh. All right. So your client is seeing two documents in the collab space. The first is Smith-Lindsay NDA. Notice there's one version here. And if we check the box and we see the document details, not really a lot of information here. Okay? Because we copied the document. So when you copy a document, you're only seeing the latest version and you're not really seeing all the profile information filled out. Let's come over to this one. And what can we point out? This is the one that we moved into the collab space. First off, they're seeing the comments. They see that you said Craig sucks. Okay? Like that you really need to be aware of. If you move something into a collab space, all that metadata is available to be seen. And they also see the 7 versions here. Okay? They see all that too. So if you have a document with 15 versions and you only want them to see the official, copy the document. If you don't want them to see the comments or anything like that, copy the document. But that's the difference. Now, if you want them to see the document as it's updated, move the document. But just be aware that they'll see versions and they will see the actual stuff like comments. When we set up your NetDocs and we create a comments field, we choose an option in the profile attributes. Don't copy the data in here when you're copying a document. That's why you're not seeing it. Now, your client, if they want to look at anything, if they click on a document here, now I'm logged into Firefox, so this will be different on every browser, but they only have view access. I didn't really go over that, so I'm going to go over that when we create the next collab space. But when they click on a document, it will just download onto their computer and they can see it. Up here, there is a download everything option, which will just download the entire collab space to their computer. And then they, there's a file will open and they can unzip it and, deal with it. Where is this? In our downloads, yeah, the entire collab space is downloaded with all the documents in it. All right, let's just move on. I said this was going to be 45 minutes, but we'll probably take the whole hour. Not surprised there. A lot of great questions. Let's come back here. Let's create another collab space. Just to go over it, because it's a question again. What happens when you make a change to a document that is copied? Like, well, if you make a change to the original, the person does not see the changes to the copied document. Now, if you move a document, if you make a change in your NetDocs, they see those changes in Collabspace. That's the big difference there. All right, let's come over, add Collabspace. We'll do this. Massive dynamic. And we'll do webinar. And then I'm going to do add and edit. All right. So I want someone here to be able to add and edit documents. I'm going to come over and I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to hit OK again, so nothing's changed so far. I'm going to come over to create Collabspace group. I'll give the group name. There's a reason I label them these ways, that I always label and I always put in for mine the client and the matter. All right. Search for external users or create one. Let's come over here to Craig A. Bayer. This is the one that we're using today. So I'll use that one. So we can add an existing user or we could create one. Now I'm going to hit create group. We to this point, we did everything exactly the same. The thing that I'm going to change here is I'm going to change the rights to VES. Now, for time's sake, I'm not really going to go into it, but in my mind, there's 2 options in Collabspaces. V, people should only view stuff, or VES, I want someone to upload stuff or be able to edit it. If you give someone the ability to upload stuff, they're going to be able to edit it. So it's V or VES. Those are the options. I'm going to hit apply. And now I have created a brand new collab space. Great question. If you add an existing user already, will they receive an email? No, they won't get that welcome to NetDocs email. I'll just tell you what I would do. just to make this really easy, Amanda, is copy in that scenario, copy the collab space because these URLs are always unique in NetDocs, right? Go over, email that user, right? Just added you to a new collab space. I mean, they'll see it in their NetDocs, it'll appear, but you could just email them that. And then when they click on it, they should just go into it because those URLs are completely unique. So that's the URL for the collab space. All right. Now, here is the other thing, especially when I am giving people the ability to add documents to a collab space. I'm going to come over to the drop down here and I'm going to come over to edit profile. This allows me to choose what attributes get assigned when someone uploads documents to Collabspaces. So I've created a doc type called Collabspace Documents. So I'm just going to choose that there. Now, I have an author field, all right? And I also have created an author called Collabspaces. Now, in the comments, I'm going to also put uploaded from Collabspaces. So when I'm looking at a document in NetDocs, I know exactly where it came from. All right. And then everything else, I'll just leave the same and I'll hit update. And then I'll just hit OK there. Yeah, that's fine. All right. So we've created a second collab space now. Let's go over and see what that looks like. Now, I'm going to have to log out. Like if you create a user, you create a brand new collab space for them, they will have to log out of NetDocs and log back in to see it. That's the normal security stuff that we have to deal with. So let's log out and let's log back in. And I've got a lot of good questions. I got some questions emailed me today about audit trails and knowing when people do stuff. I'm going to go over that in a second. All right. So your external user logs in. They now have two collab spaces. They have add and edit. How can this person upload documents to the collab space? Let's go with the first one, add, upload, and then they can search their computer or drag stuff into this box. So I'm going to choose these documents here on my computer, and they're going to upload them. I'll just hit OK, and these are going into the collab space. There you go. I'm pretty sure this other method works, but you know, who doesn't love on-the-job training? How can they also add stuff? They should be able to drag it onto the collab space name, and it will also upload as well. Now, while that's happening, I just want to point out here, and let me throw this into the chat. I've created this document for your external users. It's 3 short videos. First one, how to log into the collab space. What happens if you forgot your password? Option 2, how to download documents from the collab space. 3, how to upload documents. I try to keep these under 2 minutes. They're all under 2 minutes, but that's for your external users. I also, if we click here, created this like 4-page PDF. I know these aren't NetDocs users. I'm just trying to make this as simple as possible. So this is just a quick thing about how to use this. And, you know, I didn't get my welcome email. It goes through all this stuff right here. I said it was 5. It's 6 pages, but I mean, you know, the first page doesn't count. All right. Your external user uploaded documents to the collab space. Let's come over and hit refresh. Look at that. They are all there. Now there's some important things to point out here. Created by, it's going to have the person's name. Modified by, it's going to have that person's name. Client and matter are assigned because we were in this collab space. The doc type collab space documents, because I have a doc type called collab space documents. Comments uploaded from Collabspace, and author Collabspace. So it's very clear when I'm working in NetDocs where everything came from. I'm kind of hitting you over the head with it, right? If we go into your regular NetDocs now, we will have a doc type called filter here called Collabspace documents. These all came from a Collabspace, and it's just showing us there. The other indication, because you don't have to do it, it's the blue people right here. Like that, these documents are in a collab space. But I've created for our NetDocs a separate doc type, just to be very clear when I'm in a matter. I'm like, oh yeah, that came from a collab space. All right. Now, I'm going to go over a couple questions and then I'm going to hit some more here because I mean, we're getting a lot of questions in the chat. So let's come back over first one here. I created this collab space where I'm letting external people upload stuff. Anytime I do that, I'm going to hit the drop down here and I'm going to come over to the word follow. Okay. Then I will click on add and then I'm going to choose OK. What this is doing is it's going to email you when someone adds something to a collab space. So when something gets added to the collab space, you get an email. That's the key indicator to tell you, oh, when did this get uploaded? Second thing, this was a question emailed to me today, but it's a great one, and I'm going to add it to my FAQ page. Here's the original collab space we created. Let me check the box next to this document. I'm going to come over to the word more, and I'm going to come over to history. How do I know that Craig Bayer looked at this? Because the audit trail tells me. So you share this with external counsel, opposing counsel, and they're like, we never got the documents. Yeah, you did. You downloaded them at 12:32 and 12:33 today. Like, so when people are like, hey, how do I know? Because I'm like, this person says they never got the documents. Well, if you go into the audit trail, it specifically tells you that. And the other thing, and I don't want to get into the weeds because this is not about this, but if we come into our NetDocs here, like if you really have an issue, like, and it's getting legally contentious of whether they got the documents, in NetDocs, the activity logs go into way more detail. Especially it tells you what IP address anyone did. So you could download the activity logs for that day that the person downloaded the documents, and then you would have a report of everything they downloaded at what date, time, and what IP address. So NetDocs is really recording a lot of good information there. Now let's come back over to the collab space. One of the things that I did not talk about, which is totally supported, is over here, folders. All right. So I'm going to hit the drop down here, add folder. All right. I told you I had COVID, so I'm blaming that why I'm not creative. We'll just call it folder. All right. So you can create folders in Collabspaces. You can copy stuff into Collabspaces. You can copy stuff into those folders. You can move folders into Collabspaces itself. So you can take a folder and actually move it into a collab space. Let me come over here and I'm going to paste this in here into the chat, our Collabspace frequently asked questions. Okay. How to deal with folders and collab spaces. So I go over here how to create a folder. And then, in the folder itself, you can choose profile attributes. Moving a folder into a collab space, you can do that as well. The problem with moving a folder, let's just see if we do it here, is, let's grab docs, Craig's docs here. All right, I'm going to take this folder. So there, you can't go to share externally. So I'm going to go to move/copy. All right. And then I'm going to put it in this collab space and I'm going to copy it in there. So the folder is going to remain in NetDocs, but we're going to put copies of it in there and copies of all the documents as well. When you copy the folder into the collab space, so it's showing you, it's going to change the profile attributes, which I'm fine with. I want them to do that. But let's go into the collab space now. There's the folder, and there's all the documents. So you can copy folders. Now, a question that I got was, how do you delete a folder in a collab space? Drop down, delete folder. Okay, it's going to ask you, what do you want to do with the documents? Do you want to delete them or unfile them? So you can delete the documents in there. Let me go over some of the other on these FAQs. By the way, these FAQs were all the ones that I got from the last time, because we do this training at least once a year. External users cannot see documents in Collabspaces. I get this question all the time. I'm convinced it's because people are creating the Collabspace and they've decided, well, hey, I don't want anyone to see anything till I'm finished. They don't create the group. So there's no one's shared with the Collabspace. And then when they go in there, it's not added properly. Here's the thing. If you look in a Collabspace and you don't see the blue people here, they're not shared externally. So you're going to have to fix that issue. Now let's go over here and answer this question. How do I add someone to a Collabspace group once I've created the Collabspace? So if we come to the drop down here, we are going to come over to modify access. All right. Here are our group that we created. Let's click on it. There we go. So then we can add that person to the group that we never created before. The other thing to do, and this is also a question I get all the time, is how do I remove someone from a collab space? Remove. Okay. So if you have a collab space and you're kind of done, you don't want to share anything anymore, I would remove the users. I'd leave the group there, but I would remove the users. Now, let me come over and let's come over to admin. We're in my NetDocs now. I'm going to come over to users and groups, and then we can look at external users here. Only NetDocs admins can do this. The reason I want to point this out, here are my external users. You could remove someone from here, and it's basically deleting an external user from your NetDocs. So if they're a member of 5 collab spaces, they won't be able to get into any 5 anymore. All right. Question we got in the chat. How do I know what member someone is in a collab space? Well, let's open it up. Do you understand why I label my collab spaces a certain way? I always put the client and I always put the matter. So then when I look at this external user in the admin console, I'm like, oh, that's where that user That's the collab spaces they're a member of. So it really helps me figure out what collab spaces people are in. Let's see here on the FAQs, I'm going to add the audit trail question because that's a great one. I'm going to clean up the FAQ page, make it look nice like the set builder one. Um, and oh, I've got to go over this one. I learned this in a NetDocs training. So let's come over here. I'm going to add this to the FAQs as well. But let's go into collab spaces. This is a little disjointed at the end. I'm hitting the hits before we're done. Um, so one of the questions I get all the time is there is frustration on use of collab spaces because your users have to be able to log into NetDocs. They have to have a password. And again, I don't know if we're getting I mean, I guess what people want is a collab space with no password. That doesn't exist yet, but this does exist. And I will add it to the manual. I'll add it to the FAQ. Massive dynamic, okay? I'm going to come on the drop down here. View email address. This is the email address for the collab space. All right. So since I am now a member of this collab space, what I could do is come over to where I'm not really familiar with. Oh, compose. All right. Here are the docs you wanted. All right. So this is what an external user could do. Now, the limitation here is going to be what can you successfully email? Like it can't be 100 gigabytes of files. Okay. And I'm going to hit send now. And we've just emailed those documents to the collab space. So they should all show up here. It'll take a little bit to process. I'll create a blog post on that and explain how to use that. Last thing I always have to hit here is in the training today, talked about how to share a collab space to view documents, talked about share a collab space, how to edit documents. I mean, how to upload documents. Did not talk about how to edit. Okay. And there's a reason why, because it is not easy. So just think about this. When you use NetDocs, especially for the Windows people, but even the Mac people, you either have ND Office or ND Click installed on your computer. Your external users don't have ND Office or ND Click installed. Now they could. Okay, so that is totally an option there. They could have ND Click or ND Office installed. And I think Rob, there's certain use cases to do it. The big use case that I see is that there's this checkbox here where you can allow up to, what is it, 50 gigabyte files, maybe 75 gigabytes now. It's a lot. You can add those. You can't add upload is not really good for that. So we want to use ND Office to upload those. ND Office has an upload here. And that's where I think a Collabspace user should have ND Office so they can use this folder import to get stuff into the Collabspace. However, having said that, I do use Collabspaces to have people edit documents. Here's how I do it. Let's come over here to this Excel file. I'm going to come over to right click, open in Excel for web. All right. I'm now in Excel. Now I want my client, whoever the person in this collab space, to make changes to this. Share, and I'm going to click share. All right, Outlook opens up. I'm going to put in my client's email address and send them this document, this email with a link to the document. All right. There's the document. When I click on open now, it's throwing it into Excel Online. See, I don't have to have NetDocs on my computer now. And so now Excel's going to open up online in a second, and I'm going to be able to make changes to this document. Great way to send someone a form. Hey, please fill out this form, put the document in a collab space, share the link. They'll click on this when they update it here. The cool thing is that the changes here, let's just come over, they're already there. So that's the way I want to be able to basically co-edit documents with people in collab spaces, share it externally. All right. Let me see. Do you need, okay, let me just go through here. Is there a way to move a document, but then control which version the client can see? Could you only let them see the official version? Honestly, John, I don't think so because we don't have the ability to secure versions, right? We can secure a document with view read-only access, but I don't know if there's a way to do that. Can you move a collab space to a different workspace? No. Pain in the neck, right? What you would do is need to create the new collab space and then move all the documents into it. Do you need to be an admin to create the collab space profile attributes? You do. Do you have a blog post explaining what collab spaces are in simple terms? I'll just say right now, it's a client portal is the word that's used all the time. It's a way of sharing documents with external users. And we would say like larger amounts of documents with external users, and it's a way of allowing external users to upload things directly to NetDocs. What is the benefit of using collab spaces via just emailing documents to the client? Um, I mean, again, that's a good question. I mean, if you're emailing 4 documents, I'm not creating a collab space, right? But if I have a group of documents that I want my clients to see all the time, let's just say 500 documents. You're not emailing 500 documents. So collab space usage, this is great for helping me define it. It's got to be over a certain amount of documents where it makes sense. Also, those documents stay there. They're static. Also, you allow someone to upload documents and possibly make changes. Also, the other thing about the collab spaces is you take full capability of the audit. So we see the actual person who edited the documents. If your client sends you a document and you add it to NetDocs, you're the person that created it. If clients using the collab space, they are. As an internal user, how can I batch upload documents to the collab space? Oh, that's easy. Add, upload, okay? Or what's becoming more popular is the folder import tool in ND Office. So if I come over here and I just grab like these documents here, yeah, that's fine. These 536, where do I want to put them? I know I'm going quick, but you'll get a video about this because we're done and I've got a call right now, unfortunately. But see here, here's all the collab spaces. So I could just put 500 documents in the collab space right now. Hit select. So you can add, upload, basically any way you add documents now to collab spaces there. Um, Again, when you delete documents from, I don't recommend deleting documents from the collab space. I would just remove the user, okay? But if you do delete documents from the collab space, they do delete from inside your NetDocs. That's the problem, unless you copied them. If you moved a document to the collab space, okay, so let's do this, and then I've really got to go. But let's say you moved a document into the collab space. More, unfile, we'll move it back out again. So you want to do that. You don't want to just delete it. I don't delete Collabspaces. I just stop sharing them with people. All right. I know there's probably some more questions. Can you external users delete? No. External users can't delete because we didn't give them delete access. We give them VES access. If you had a file that had over 15,000 documents, how would you add that entire file to the Collabspace? Well, in that case, I would take advantage of that ability to just share the entire file with someone. I wouldn't move the entire file to the Collabspace. I'm sorry, send me your email questions. I'm going to update the FAQs. Everyone will get a copy of this video and then just Google Collabspace FAQs and you'll see it there. Thank you so much for your time today.